Kirk Johnson with the BMW Motorrad Club of Northern Illinois. Today's review video, I want to show you the new lift that I got in the shop here. The Bison scissor lift, 1,000-pound capacity. I want to review the lift. Now I know a lot of you guys have seen the preview and demo. This is going to go into a little bit more of the detail of it and its function and how it works with a bike. Now, I know a lot of you guys can drive your bikes up onto a lift. I am not about to try to drive the LT up onto this lift. It's just not going to happen. One, I don't have the extended sides here, and that's going to make it a real difficulty to put my feet down. I'm going to have to try to wrap my feet up underneath that thing. That bike is already 2 feet wide, and this table is only 2 feet wide, so not going to happen. But I will show you how I do it. I'll have a camera placed so that you can see the ground clearance and how it can clear the lower part of the deck here, and just talk about some of the things that I've discovered since, even in the short time that I've owned it. I've owned it long enough, had a bike on here, did some major service on it, and can feel, that I've used it enough now that I can talk about it and share it with you guys, because I know you guys are out there looking for a lift. Everybody, all of us men, we love to have the power tools and all the things that work. Well, this lift totally does the job. Does it for less money than the handy lift, more money than some other lifts like the Harbor Freight model. Maybe it's middle of the road, I don't know. Anyway, show you some of the strong points and some of the shortcomings. So here we go. Okay, we're going to start off here with the finish that's on here. Now, as you can see in this light, reflecting my shop lights there, that right there mess, which I don't really mind there being a mess on my lift. I didn't keep it, and I told you it wasn't going to be a showpiece. It's going to be used. Anyways, so the finish scratches up, of course, with the use of the center stand, but it is not powder coated. This lift is painted, as you can see by the brake fluid that landed on there during a brake line change, and it just immediately attacks that finish. So it's not really sticky anymore, but it was for a couple of days, and I got on it right away and wiped it off and used water to try to neutralize it. There's a spot right there that's actually a little tacky, and as we come up here towards where the front was, I got some areas here that certainly are still tacky. Whatever. I just got to be a little bit more diligent in putting down some kind of an absorbent mat or something like a pig mat or a towel or something like that. So, a couple other things here. The vise. I had some initial issues with the vise that were rectified by the company. It had just some very careless welding done on it, where there was a big bubble weld up inside. Actually, it was in the back here. It was up inside the tube here. There was like a big wad of a weld in there, and I called them up about it, and they just replaced it. So that was pretty cool. I really do like that this thing has rubber here, although it's not really fastened very well. As you can see, it's already popped off here with one bike on it, because I probably glanced it here with the tire bringing it in, and it pulls it away. You can see it happened on this side too. Same thing. Maybe didn't have the jaws open enough. Anyway, so that's one of the things. Again, as I mentioned just a little bit ago, none of this stuff are deal breakers. These are really nice. They do come with these really nice hold downs on here. And for now, I didn't opt to get the extendable front on here, but I think in the future I will be investing in that extended front so that I can easily just go ahead and pull this vise off and then use it a little bit more efficiently for furniture. As it is, I still have a lot of room here on the table so I can use it on furniture. Yet another thing, though, that I still would like to get is the extended table here, the extended sides, to bring it out to being 4 feet wide instead of just 2 feet wide. So that's very seriously in my future. One of the other things, I guess, it's because it's made overseas. They didn't really seem to care very much on the welding. I mentioned about the careless weld on the vise, but this stuff's not really structural or anything. But that's really just very poor welding. That's very careless welding right there. Everything seems to be just over welded. It's not under welded in any area, but you got welding spall here and up in the front here of the unit. I found, maybe some of you guys may have noticed it in the initial video, that the vise, when I lifted it up, it went whop, whop, it kind of went up in stages. Well, there was a giant over weld right there. So there was this big weld bubble here where they got a little bit too overzealous with the welding, and it came up over on top here and created a hump. So I had to file that all down. So I went and I cleaned all this stuff off, and I filed everything flat and smooth so that these bearings here will run on them without any binding, and it really made a big improvement. It actually helped a lot with the way the table goes up and down. It goes up and down very smooth. No issues of any kind of complaint about the air ram that they used in there. It is a very good quality one, it seems to be. It's plenty powerful. It lifts up the LT without any trouble, which I'll show in just a little bit here. We're looking on the papers that came with it, the parts breakdown, and they say that this is an oil cap. Now, I don't know that that's an oil cap. It looks like it's threaded inside there, and I'm kind of wondering if maybe you can stick some like a Zerk fitting or something in there and shoot grease in there. It needs one, in my opinion, right down there in that pivot point. It does have some other grease points on here. Let me get up underneath the table here. You can see it's got some Zerk fittings back here. And I don't know if there's any up in the front. I guess it doesn't really need them up front because it runs on those rollers. So I think it should have some kind of a grease fitting right there in the middle to make it last longer, and I will probably be doing something to put one in there. No problems at all with the stabilizer bar. I'll probably oil it up just a little bit though, just to make sure it just stays working correctly. Just minor maintenance stuff, really. This spring clip seems to be holding well on the stabilizer bar when that's deployed. And what else here? Well, can't really think of too much else that in the way of complaints or anything like that. Just really some minor stuff, just fit and finish stuff. Nothing that couldn't be overcome very easily. Absolutely worth the money to me. About the $650 that I paid for it. And I will show, one more thing. That would be the ramp. Okay, the ramp is the same steel. It's the same 10 gauge steel as the table. It's pretty heavy. Probably about 30 pounds or so. And it hooks in there a lot like, I think the Handy Lift does the same thing. It's got 2 holes in the adjacent spots back there. But this ramp is, in my opinion, is a little bit too short. I would have really liked to have seen a longer ramp right from the get-go. I would have even paid a few extra bucks for the longer ramp. I think this ramp is probably only about 20 inches long. That's my guess here. Yep, it's exactly 20 inches long. I would have liked to have seen about a 40-inch ramp on here. Even 36 to 40 inches. That would have put it right out where it needs to be to be able to drive a motorcycle up there. Anyway, so just a few little things. This dropout is loving it for the taking the rear tire off the LT. When this is out, you don't have to take off the license plate. You don't have to pull that flap off of there. You just unbolt the tire, drop it straight out. Boy, does that make it easy. So anyway, let's get a bike up here and show you what that looks like. So before I load the bike up here, I just wanted you guys to note the scratches on here, on both the ramp and on here, on this pullout. These are from the side stand when I loaded up the first LT on here. So this is another reason that there is no way I'm going to drive up onto this thing. So it's not going to happen. I know that if I snag up on this thing, if I drive that bike up there, especially when it comes, you know, kind of bouncing in here, if I snag up on this, it's going to tear at the very least, it's going to damage or tear out the side stand. It could break the transmission because it's all mounted to that. And it's also not going to be well for me to hold the bike up anymore. It's going to go over, and I'll go over right with it. So that's not happening. Anyway, I'll show you how I get the bike up here alone. Alright, so I got a few different camera angles going here. The way I'm going to load this thing up is I'm going to use its power to drive it up here. Now, of course, if the bike was not powered anymore, I would just have a friend or my wife or somebody. You guys have seen how strong she is. She can probably put it up here by herself. She can just lift the whole bike up herself and just lay it on the lift for me. Anyway, I would just have a friend help me push the bike up there and get it in here. But the way I'm going to start off here is I'm going to roll these out just enough so that the tires will catch in there without creating a big issue, and not tip over if I do wind up kind of losing it. I've got enough room on both sides so that if the bike did tip over, it's not going to, hopefully it's going to tip that way, and it's really not going to hurt anything other than maybe bust the mirror. So here we go. I'm actually stuck. Definitely a good reason to not drive onto this thing with this short of a ramp. Gotta have to do something. So I'm going to lay a board down, and that'll lift up the back tire enough so that I'll be able to get this thing off of here. Okay, that wasn't fun at all. I had to put a board in the back just in order to get the back tire up enough because it was hitting on that undersized ramp. So if I've got a complaint, it's the length of that ramp. I shouldn't have to drive up on a piece of plywood in order to get up onto the ramp. It's the way it is. Anyways, I didn't tip it over. It's on its center stand right now. I'm not going to use the wheel vise for this demonstration because when it's on the center stand, there's really no reason. So I'll show you how it lifts it up. The LT is known as one of the heaviest bikes that are out there. This thing is about 860 pounds dry. With all the crap that I've got in the bags, I'm sure it's probably about 960. So it's, you know, it's getting close to the 1,000 pound that the lift is for. Set the bar down and let her rip. So as you can see, it lifted it up pretty well, and no problems at all lifting it. The ramp is certainly an issue. I would encourage you guys to call up the company. Maybe they have a bigger ramp for this thing. If you guys have a bike with any kind of clearance issues and you'd really like to get one of these, ask them if they have a longer ramp for it. Maybe they do. Maybe by the time you guys are watching this video, enough pressure would have been put on them to possibly get or source a ramp that's a little bit longer and make it available to us. There might be other options out there too that have longer ramps that can be modified to this. I don't know. Anyway, that's my only real beef, is just the length of that ramp, and that's, as you can see in the video here, I got stuck on the lift. That could have been a disaster that would have been a disaster. Not just could have, it would have been a disaster had I actually tried to ride the bike up onto this lift. What a train wreck. It would have torn something right out. It would have broke my bike, and I would have had the lift to blame and myself. Anyway, that's the review of this lift, the Bison M1000, I believe it's called. Yep, the M1000C. And hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I'll enjoy the lift. I'm real happy just to have something that I can get my heavy bike up there on. Real happy about that. So, thanks again for watching. IllinoisBMWRiders.com. Get out there and wrench and ride. Okay, here it goes up. No, that's not working. How is this happening?